Hey guys, welcome back to Spilling the Reality on the Hantz Show. I'm your host Kylie, and I'm joined again by my friend Lauren. We are going to talk about everything happening in the Big Brother house, including the nominations. Did David use his power? What is the fallout from that if he did? Talks about the veto and everything happening in the Big Brother house. So if you are not here for spoilers, you will need to exit the broadcast, catch us after the episode airs. If you are joining with us live, make sure you drop us some questions, let us know your thoughts, everything going on in the Big Brother house, where you think this week's headed, and let's get started. So, before we get diving into the nominations, because we actually had a pretty interesting day in the house yesterday, let's hit on the mean kids. So, this is something that I talked about with Russell the other day and with Trisha. Um, but we know that this group of Memphis, Christmas, Cody, a little, Nicole Franzel, and Danny, that they are mocking Ian. And there's been a little bit more fallout from that. So, Lauren, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, they had a chat with production and everything about everything that's been going down with it. I don't stand for how they've treated Ian. It's not right. It's completely wrong, and it's insensitive. It's something that I don't stand for, and I'm happy that they were talked to about it.
Yeah, so we do see that Nicole Franzel, especially, is worried about it and she's trying to distance herself from Memphis. And Memphis kind of calls it out like, I feel like Nicole's not wanting to be around me anymore. Well, she doesn't want to be around you because y'all all got in trouble from the DR about what you're talking about with Ian. And so, of course, Nicole is worried about her outside image. And, like, I don't want to feel bad for you because if you're worried about your outside image, then maybe you shouldn't be a crap person. Stand up for what's right, make a good decision, but she doesn't. And so we told y'all the other day that one of her endorsements is with Olay Skincare and that they dropped her. Lots of people were tweeting at them, letting them know what was happening with Nicole in the house. We do also get this comment from her fiance, Victor. I'm going to share this one with you and let you see Victor's thoughts on the situation, which I think are pretty interesting. Um, he says, and this is at LFitFix, so you can go read it yourself. I'm aware of Nicole's wrongdoing in the house recently. It saddens me because this is not who she is. This is also not an excuse. She's a grown woman who knows her words and actions have consequences. I hope she learns from this and educates herself to be better.
So here's the problem I have with this tweet a little bit, because he's saying it saddens me because this isn't who she is, but that is who you are because you did it. So
right,
there's
exactly
where my problem lies with that tweet. And then he goes and says, it's not an excuse though. So I just didn't like that he had in there that's saying that's not who she is. If that's not who she is, then she shouldn't have done it in the first place. And she should have acted with someone that's a human being with respect, and she didn't do it. So I don't feel bad.
Right. And I guess what bothers me so much about it from Nicole's standpoint is Nicole is the one that's close to Ian in the house. And so, you hope that, like, she has this action in the veto competition Wednesday where she gives Davon the $5,000. And you kind of like, okay, like maybe we're a little bit hard on Nicole sometimes. And then this comes out and it's like, no, I don't feel bad about the things that we say about her because this is the type of person she really is. So then we get another sponsor dropping her, and this one is a winery. I'm not exactly sure what the name of the winery is, like Chateau something. Hope she wasn't planning to use them for her wedding because she's going to be in for a shock if she was. This one And this was actually tweeted out by Janelle. It was in an Us Weekly article. And it says, the winery followed up by writing, our connection with Nicole was made prior to her joining the current show. We took immediate action to review once we learned of the situation and have thus decided to end our collaboration now and in the future. We do not tolerate or condone discrimination or bullying of any kind. So, another sponsor dropping Nicole Franzel. I think it'll be super interesting to see if any others follow because she does have a lot of sponsors like on her Instagram and for her podcast. So far she's gotten dropped by two, and will be interesting to see if there's more consequences and fallouts from this.
Yeah, I think honestly, once you see the trickle down effect of one sponsor dropping, then another one, all the other type of sponsors are gonna be looking, hey, I don't want this person to be associated with me, and these people are already dropping her. I think some more people are gonna get on the bandwagon with that because you don't want that person to be part of you.
Right. Like, I don't want to be associated with that. Okay, we've got this comment from Marcy Bishop. She was planning to use them. They were going to be providing guests personalized wine bottles as a party favor. Like, whoa, that's a pretty big deal for them to drop her then. Thanks for that. Marcy, that is a really good bit of info. So, yeah, Nicole not looking good. And this is not just on Nicole. I mean, Memphis is the one that was making the comments. Nicole, Danny, Christmas, Cody, they were all just there laughing and, just not sticking up for Ian. And making little comments here and there. So, mostly it is Memphis that is initiating this conversation. But like I said, just have a backbone and stand up for what's right.
Yeah, if you're part of the conversation and you hear them mocking somebody, you don't just sit there and laugh with the group. You just say, hey, guys, that's not right. We need to cut this off. But because people can't sit there and do that and they are just going along with the group because they think, oh, well, everyone else is laughing, I might as well laugh too. No. You need to stick up for what is right. And I have a problem with people that just go along with what other people are doing. Be your own person and stick up for somebody else when you know what everyone else is saying is wrong.
Right. Like, this is like teenage years personified, where your parents talk to you about being a good person. And, I'm sure that things are hard when you are in the Big Brother house and you are playing a game, but this is real life, and, that's a stigmatism that he has to deal with on an everyday basis. And so to see that from his house guests is just so disappointing. And as we're seeing after they've been talked to now, where Danny had been really talking about how she didn't trust Ian. She didn't like that Nicole was always defending him or, wanting him to go further with them. She's now like, oh, well, Ian may not be so bad to take further into the game. Like, that's bullshit. You're just saying that because of the talk y'all got. This time next week, you're going to be over it and you're going to be back to targeting Ian.
Trying to clean up the image a little bit is what's going on with that for sure. And I just think I also have an issue with that too. You're changing based on like, oh, pause. I found out I'm doing something wrong, so now I'm going to try and backtrack and clean up my mess. No, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, absolutely. But moving on from that, there's no real good way to segue from it, but we're going to get into more talks from happening in the house. We do get lots of one-on-one conversations with Danny before nominations. Everybody makes their rounds. She does have a few interesting conversations. Let's talk about her conversation with Kevin.
Yeah, so with Kevin, she kind of basically said to him, hey, I'm just putting you up there, but you're going to be fine. Like, you're just a pawn. And Kevin's, like, very reluctant about it. He's like, because going through his mind, he's already been a pawn many times before. And as the game keeps getting further along, being a pawn is scary because there's less people in the house and it's easier for someone to switch votes at the last minute. Whereas when you have a larger group of people, then you feel a little bit more comfortable. But as the game gets down to numbers, being a pawn is not good.
Yeah, and I think Danny genuinely does not want Kevin to go home. And so as they're talking, she tells him, like, hey, I've got this other plan in mind, but because there are these powers out there, I don't want to say it in case something happens and things get mixed up. But if it'll make you feel better, I will throw the veto to you. And, does that make you feel better? And Kevin's like, well, I mean, yeah, that makes me feel a little bit better. But, I mean, obviously, this isn't what I want to do. Like, I've already done it twice. Is there nobody else that you can use? And
yeah,
Danny.
it's smart on her end as well by not giving too much information because, like she said, there's the powers out there. And you don't know what the rest of the powers are. Only power she knows about is the power that she has.
Yeah. So, there's lots of speculation about who has them, what they're going to do. Not very many. I mean, nobody knows about David's power. He has not told anyone. Only a few people know about Danny's. I think she's told Nicole and Cody. I think Christmas has only told Tyler. So it is pretty close to the vest who has the powers. So there is lots of speculation about it. We get everybody else coming up and talking to her. We did get a really interesting conversation with her and Tyler. And, she tells Tyler, like, hey, there's a possibility, or no, Tyler says, I understand if you need to nominate me or backdoor me because I was trying to throw you under the bus last week. Like, I hope that you don't do that. And Danny kind of throws him an olive branch, which I think is really interesting. And she's like, well, how about this? We can have an agreement to not go after each other till final six. And I'm shocked, y'all, because I'm like, this girl was for sure going to backdoor Tyler. Like, this has to be the plan that she's talking about. And Tyler says, I'll do you one better. I won't go after you till final four, but you can go after me at final six. And so they have this agreement, like, okay, we're great with each other till this point. So, like, are you freaking serious is what I'm thinking.
I mean, Tyler's doing what Tyler has to do, trying to charm his way back in, and Danny was definitely buying it for sure.
Yeah, so really, really interesting. After everybody's having their talks, we're getting lots of suspicions. And a lot of those suspicions are centered around Danny and Christmas. Danny is very skeptical of Christmas, and she even talks about how if one of her nominees comes down, that she may have to use Christmas as a pawn. And she does not think that Christmas will be very happy with that. And we get a conversation with Christmas and Memphis where they're just talking about how they don't really trust Danny because Danny is saying that she's good with Davon and how she better be true to the alliance till final six. Like, y'all, Christmas has blinders. She cannot see the benefit of anything outside of the final six and that group getting there together. So, this is pretty interesting because, as we talked about yesterday, Christmas does also have one of those powers. And so Danny tells her straight up, like, hey, I may need you to go up as a pawn. And I'm sure Christmas is thinking, no, I'm not going to do that. So, really interesting, knowing that we know what the powers are and they don't.
Yeah, and like that we talked about yesterday where you could run into Danny potentially having to nominate 5 different people this week.
Yeah, so y'all, so good.
This is the drama that we needed in terms of clearing it up a little bit. It's not going to be clear cut this week, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this. We do find out that Kevin, during the live show, heard another wall yeller. Y'all, this is the 4th wall yeller that they have heard. And apparently, and this person is claiming that they did this on Twitter, they went for like a home run, guys. They weren't just trying to drop one piece of info. They spilled it all. They yelled that David has a power, Christmas and Tyler have a final 2, and they outed the committee as a 6-person alliance. So they like swung for the fences, laid it all out there. And Kevin did hear this. And so, that is also what is contributing to Kevin, which, nobody wants to go up as a pawn anyways, but he's really worried about it because he has this info. And, we are really seeing the wall yellers actually impacting the game.
Yeah, I don't know. In past seasons, have wall yellers impacted the game as much as they have this season? Because it's been wild.
So. Yeah, it has been really wild. I mean, 2 of them have been pretty effective. The third wall yeller really got in thinking about the Cody and Nicole final 2. This one's really got Kevin figuring some stuff out. I mean, the writing should be on the walls, but apparently that's not good enough for them. So, people with megaphones are taking it into their own hands.
Yeah, I mean, this one spilled basically as much as you could possibly spill.
Yeah, except for throwing out Danny and Christmas's powers, there's basically nothing that's a secret.
No. And the fact that Kevin was able to hear all this, he's just thinking, all right, I know exactly what's going on, what I need to do.
Yeah. So Cajun Reseller says, how hard is it to have security out there? I read an article, it may have been on TMZ, and they said that they have LAPD patrolling heavier and that Big Brother has also hired a private security firm. So I don't know, y'all, I mean, the Big Brother backyard is not that big. I mean, I feel like they could put someone on all 4 corners and that they would be able to control this, but, maybe they don't want to.
Maybe the wall yeller goes, hey, this is exactly what I'm going to say. If you're good with this, let me just, get my moment and I'll ask these people. And they're like, oh, well, we kind of want it to lean in a different direction, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it would be super easy to shut this down. So
I do as well.
I'm a little suspicious about that. I don't know, guys. All right, so that moves us into the OG nominations, and we're going to call it that because we do get, feeds go down, they come back, and we see David and Kevin's faces up on the memory wall. And yeah, shocker. We knew that she was going to nominate Kevin as her pawn. She does talk a little bit about David being her target because they've never talked game, and, he's just not really much use to her in the game as an ally. So,
I feel like David doesn't talk game with a lot of people.
I mean, David's game is super
there
confusing. I think in ways he's trying to play, but then he's just really, really bad, guys.
The problem I have is I would put him at the lowest tier of Big Brother players, which is so sad because you're on an all-star season.
Right. I mean, there's not been very many people that have played as bad as David. And, I mean, there's almost nothing to say about him. You almost have to feel sorry for him because he is so outmatched.
Well, because, when you're watching, it's just, you want to just do this because it's cringeworthy. Because, I don't think he knows how bad it looks to the viewers.
Yeah, because sometimes I think that he thinks that he's doing a good job, and it's just, oh my gosh, y'all. So whenever I see they don't give us real specifics about his power. They just said that after the nomination ceremony. So we're not sure, the feeds come back and I'm like, did he not use his power? And everybody on Twitter is like, what is going on? Does this happen later or did he not use it? This would be the most David thing ever if he did not use his power.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, because it comes out and we're like, wait, he's still on there? What just happened?
He is still on the block. And so I am thinking back to our conversation yesterday. I'm like, it happened. This man did not use his power. What the hell? This is just awful for David's game. But then, the idea of it is really comical too. Oh, David, what are you doing? But shortly after, we do find out that the feeds go down again. Obviously, this has to be for David's power. And when the feeds come back up, we have a third nominee. And guys, Yes, a third nominee. So exciting. And the third nominee is Tyler. So Danny is gone back on her word and has not decided to has decided to put Tyler up there. She, of course, tells him, like, you're the pawn, you've got the votes to stay, like, just win the veto. And Tyler's a little bit pissed about it, guys. Like, he's not happy that he got put up here.
Yeah, because I know yesterday you were saying that thought it would be Ian. I said, well, what if it's Tyler?
Yeah, I really did not think that she would take the shot and give him the opportunity to play in the veto, but she does. I don't know if it was one of those things where she was, I'm sure that she went into it and had no idea, like, why are they calling us back in here? What is happening? And so I don't know if just on the spot she was like, I don't know what else to do. So Tyler, you're the one that goes up there.
Yeah, sometimes when you're put on the spot like that, you just have to make a gut decision and go with it.
Yeah, so she does throw him up there. She tells him that he's not the target. But, we're already getting talks. Like, we see Enzo and Cody talking, and they're like, Enzo's like, yo, if he goes, like, that's just part of it. So sad for you. And so, it's really interesting. And so, we've got this question here from Sam Higdon. Do you see Christmas or Danny using their powers? So this makes that conversation now with Christmas and Danny really interesting because Danny has already hinted that, hey, I might have to use you as a pawn. And so if for some reason one of them comes off, Kevin or Tyler, she's already thrown it out there to Christmas, like, I may have to nominate you. And I absolutely see Christmas using her power and being like, no, I am not going up on the block. So this is like the best case scenario with twists. We actually get the twist working. David gets to take himself off. We've got that possibility of Christmas having to use hers, which I think there in turn will make Danny play hers. I mean, Danny should absolutely play hers.
How funny would it be if neither Tyler or Kevin win the veto, Christmas uses the power, takes off Tyler, and then Danny puts her?
I don't think Christmas can use the power to take someone off, only to block it.
Only for
for a renom. So, like,
I wish that could happen though.
Oh my gosh, that would be
because that would be funny if that's the way that it could have worked out, because I would die inside.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. So, because she does decide to throw Tyler up there first, like, this isn't really a possibility that we discussed yesterday. So, okay, now she's named her 3 people. Let's say Tyler wins veto and pulls himself off, and she goes to nominate Christmas.
Yep, and
Christmas denies it. Who is she going to put up, and who is going to go home?
Oh. Okay, see, I think in that situation, well, what would be smart for her is take a shot at somebody, maybe, if she thinks she has the votes to get that person out. But I think at the end of the day, I think it'll end up being Ian.
Yeah, I think there's a strong possibility. Like, she says straight up that she is not nominating Davon. So I really, really don't see it being Day. Now, knowing that they know what people are thinking about them for mocking Ian, I kind of see it less likely to be Ian. I think that could be why they decided to not throw him up yesterday, and she did end up going with Tyler. So it's going to be really, really interesting.
I agree, but if you're looking at, if it's in her mind, between Ian and Davon in that type of scenario, I just don't see her doing Davon.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
I think Davon would, like, go off on Danny.
Yeah, I think she would be so pissed.
But, and see, like we said, Danny does some wild things in these games. So she might go with a gut reaction, say, I'm going to toss someone out that I kind of want to just get out of the house. And roll the dice with it. But I
Yeah.
don't really know who she would do that to. So
Yeah,
I think
the numbers are getting so low, and there's not a lot of. I mean, whenever you have to nominate almost half of the people, like, and obviously this is all contingent on somebody using the veto, but just the possibilities are so exciting, and it's just fun that we get to talk about this for like the next day or two until the veto comp is played and we get the veto ceremony.
Because say if Christmas plays in the veto and wins the veto, I guarantee she'll take Tyler off by winning the veto, and then Danny still has to put someone
Well,
up.
I mean, I guess there is the slight possibility that she doesn't. Danny talks to her and is like, please don't make me have to get any more blood on my hands. Like, I basically threw the veto to you last week. Danny did not try at all because she knew that it didn't make sense for her to win it whenever Davon and Bailey were already out. So
But we did talk about the suspicions that they have of each other. So Christmas might be like, I'm not going to listen to Danny and do my own thing.
yeah, so could be a very interesting couple days.
I think
Okay, pink hair Aiden. Just dropping my head in to say David is the most influential player in the game. Yes, a little bit. David is the cause of this possibility of this madness. But unfortunately, our next subject is going to be called Power Trip. And we're going to talk about how terribly David does after he uses his power. Y'all.
Oh, David. He's trying to deny it. And the fact of the matter is, these people are not that stupid.
Yeah. Literally, no one believes him.
No one. And just the thing is, honestly, in his position, why lie about it? It just makes it just makes the situation worse. I personally, if I was in his position, I would have came clean about it because, like I said, these people are not that dumb.
Yeah, they're not that dumb. And like, David, you have no resume. Say, hey guys, I won my first comp. I'm taking myself off. Like, this is what I'm starting to play Big Brother and I'm excited about it. But instead, he's like, I don't know who it could be. And he goes up to every single person and asks them, did you save me? Did you save me? And this has Memphis and Cody super pressed. They are not happy with him doing this. And we see this little quick interaction between David and Cody where Cody's like, dude, nobody believes you. Like, you just need to own up to it. And David's like, or somebody could tell me that they took me off. And Cody's
but
like,
who in the world would have taken him off?
okay.
If I had that power, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to take off David. That's going to help my game by taking off David. And the other thing is, if someone took off David, they could be the replacement. So how stupid would that be? He just did not think this through. He honestly should have just came clean and said, listen, I used it. I had to make a move to save myself. Because then you're like, okay, he's doing something in the house now.
Yeah, and nobody would have been mad about him doing it. Everybody would have done the exact same thing in that scenario. But no, David decides to deny, and nobody believes him. So only David can do something good and make it look worse. I mean, it takes a special kind of talent to F things up that badly. Ridiculous. I mean, I've never seen anything like him. Okay, so anyways, what a mess, y'all.
Moving on from that.
Yeah, Sam asks, do you think the people who were making fun of Ian were spoken to by production? Yes, they were spoken to by production. We hit on this at the beginning of the episode. I shared a tweet from Victor where he's saying that he's disappointed in Nicole, that that's not the kind of person she is, and he hopes that she'll learn from it. And she's also being dropped left and right by her sponsors. We also shared part of the Us Weekly article where they talk about the winery dropping her. So, yeah, this is having real world implications for them.
Yep.
Yeah, Nicole was definitely talked to, and I'm pretty certain that Cody also says that they hinted at it to him, which this happened on 2 separate occasions. We see Memphis making comments 2 different times. And one time Cody's there and one time Christmas is there. So, he's also talked to about it. Just garbage. Happening today in the Big Brother house, we will have the veto ceremony or the veto competition. When we went live, they had not chosen the players yet. This is going to be very interesting. It's got so much potential to shake things up this week. We know that the backyard was open last night, so about the only competition that they can set up that quickly is hide and go veto. So I think that we're going to get to see a trashed Big Brother house today. I personally, this is one of my favorite competitions. What do you think about
it? I love this competition. It's great. And it's so fitting because if the power veto is won by Kevin or Tyler, it's just going to shake up the house even more. So I love it.
Yes, and the only thing that sucks about it is, it will be a crapshoot, basically. Everybody runs in, they don't know who's they're finding, and
but that's what I like about it, that it is a crapshoot because anyone can win, and that's what I prefer with competitions where anyone has an equal shot right off the bat to win no matter what.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. I don't know if all of them have played in a hide and go veto. I know Tyler did. I don't know if Danny has ever played in it before.
I think she did maybe in her first season.
Yeah, I can't remember. So, anyways, they are not looking forward to having to clean up the house, and they kind of thought that maybe they would not even do this competition this year. They had been speculating because they thought that with COVID that they would not want them, trashing the house and throwing the food and everything around, but I don't see how it can be anything other than hide and go veto.
We've been surprised before, so we'll see.
We've been surprised, so there's always a possibility that it's something else. Okay, so Sam says that she has won hide and go veto before. I wasn't even sure if she had played in it. So, yeah, that would be really interesting. I know that as soon as I came into the house, I would be looking at spots to hide my veto. Where would you hide yours?
It's always interesting some of the spots people pick, and then you always have that one person that picks a spot and you go, why did you pick that? And then it's the first one found because it was terrible.
Yeah, it's so obvious, like the people that put it where they always are. So, I think Raven played in it and she hid it in her bed. I
think someone hid it in a pillowcase or something like that.
On their bed. I wonder where she hid it. Yeah, so I think it'll be really, really fun. I don't know. I might it's probably a terrible strategy and I shouldn't even say this. Y'all are going to drag me for saying it, but I would hide mine somewhere where that it's kind of obvious. Everybody's looking so deep trying to find these things. And maybe I would try to hide it in plain sight. I don't know where that would be because I've never been in the Big Brother house, but in the oven or something just open the oven up, throw it in there.
Just run right by. And then just
nobody's dumb enough to just throw it in the oven. There's nowhere to hide it in there. So yeah, that is where I would think about putting it. So Dawn says that I guess on Cliff's podcast that he does that he thought they would do the comp in the basement again. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. There's always the possibility that is where the comp will be, and that's why they didn't have to set anything up. So
yeah, because it's perfect. They already have that extra room, so they can easily utilize that.
Okay, yeah, and somebody else is saying that too. So someone hid it in a box of tea bags before. Yeah, there's so many interesting places. I'd probably drop it in in the toilet. I mean, just being serious. I don't know if that's off limits or not, but I don't know.
I don't know if anything's really off limits. I do remember the one season when everyone went in, they were so pissed off that their stuff got touched. They just could not handle it.
Yeah, I really like this comment too of if, and especially with Tyler playing in it and Tyler played with Brett, if anyone is going to take the strategy of just piling everything on top of theirs so that it's harder to get to it. So I think it could be really interesting depending on who the veto draw is, because Ian is going to know that strategy because he's, like a steel trap with everything Big Brother. And so it'll be really, really interesting. Yeah, the toilet tank. That's exactly what I was thinking. I couldn't remember what it was called. So that's where I would put it. Just
Yeah,
saying.
we'll see what happens. Like they could be doing it in the basement, like people have said, or that could be the competition.
Yeah.
Either way, this is going to be a huge power veto, and I think it's definitely going to shift the game potentially, or I'm hoping it will shift.
Yeah. And just to get all the powers out in the open, like let's just flush them all this week. All three of them get played. Just this is the first actually fully entertaining week of Big Brother that we've had all season, guys. It took 6 weeks, but it's
Yep, because
exciting to
I
think
think it
about.
could be a trickle down effect after this. If something
Yeah,
shakes it up, and then say next week, Kevin, Ian are still there, they win HOH,
yeah, and
huge
I
shakeup.
mean, definitely seeing the implosion of the committee, even though they haven't really been that. I mean, they've won all the competition, so they haven't really had to have their loyalty tested. But with Danny putting Tyler up, I think it's going to be interesting to see. Christmas is going to be pissed if she finds out that they're going for Tyler. Um, I don't know, guys. Like, and it's really interesting too. Like, I can't remember with the way that Christmas's was worded. Does she have to do it before? Like, hey, I'm going to use this so that I can't be renominated? Or is it after they name it? Does she say, I've got the power? I mean, I'm sure they're going to let her keep it secret. So, I mean, is it a scenario of where we're going to have another veto meeting?
I don't know. I think it's going to be wild.
Yeah.
But I think she's honestly hoping that she'll be able to hold on to it for the next week.
Yeah, so it has so much potential to be really super interesting, and that's what I'm here for. I cannot wait. So, lots of good things to look forward to, guys. That is going to take us into our tweet of the day. Tweet. And there also was kind of pickings yesterday. We get this interesting game strategy from Rachel Swindler. Um, at Rachie Swin, and she says, if I ever go back into the BB house, I'm faking an injury. Between Memphis and Christmas seems like a solid strategy for the final three. And I mean, I really like this mindset of Rachel because I mean, it did take Christmas to the final three. Memphis is being drugged there. Like, we kind of talked about it before that this is kind of the Tyson Apostle strategy that he used in his, winning season of Survivor where he played up his shoulder injury. So it is a feasible option. So I will be interested to see if anybody does decide to take this road and to see that kind of strategy come into Big Brother. So we're here for that idea, Rachel, and we're rooting for you to go back into the Big Brother house someday. So keep it in mind.
It
All
would
right,
be an
y'all got any other
interesting
questions?
strategy, but also on the flip side, for people that are working with someone that's injured, I'd take the injured person with me all day long if they can't do the competitions.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Tanya asks if Tyler wins this veto and Danny tries to put up Christmas and she blocks it, wow, then what will Danny do? Yeah, it's going to be really super interesting. Like, this is the worst case scenario for Danny. It is the best case scenario as a viewer. Like we talked about it yesterday. She really may have to name 5 people, guys. Like, I just cannot wait.
Yeah, and we talked about this scenario a little bit earlier. I were thinking probably will end up being Ian because I just don't think she would do it to Davon. But then again, it is Danny. She could make a huge move potentially. So we'll see. I think this is what we want to see happen, though.
Yeah. let's see, Cam K says that it is like an immunity idol. She has to play it before the replacement is announced. So, I mean, the fact that Danny has tipped her off to, hey, you may have to be my replacement nominee, and I can see Danny going and talking to her in the scenario that Tyler or Kevin wins, like, hey, girl, it's going to be you, but we've got the votes to keep you. Like, I really think Danny will give her the heads up, and, Christmas will play it, I'm sure. I mean, I would absolutely play it if I was getting renommed. Like, you may not need it the next week, and if you go up this week, you never know. You may not be here to use it in the third week.
That's right. Got to save yourself when you can.
Yeah. Tanya asks or says Danny won't put up Ian because production talked to her about being mean to him. Yeah, I think that this could also come into play. So, like, if you take Ian off the table, you take Davon off the table because she absolutely does not want to do that. Then there's no other choice. I mean, I guess Enzo. Enzo would be the only other one not in the committee that would be a possibility. So,
Yeah, Tanya's saying that's why I personally think Ian wasn't the replacement for David.
Yeah,
in this type of scenario.
But will he be if Tyler or Kevin comes off and there's not very many people to choose from?
Yeah, that's what we'll have to wait and see with what happens.
Does Danny have the numbers to send Cody home? I don't think that she'll even put Cody up. I think her, Cody, and Nicole are too close, so I don't think that it will be Cody. I think that they've got the numbers to send Tyler home if he stays up on the block. I think enough people can see the value in it. I think Danny will be persuasive enough, and I think if Tyler's there on eviction night that he's going.
I would be fine if she put Memphis up.
Yeah, we can go ahead and send his ass out right now. That's fine with me.
I'm fine if she would put Memphis up.
Yeah, garbage. So that would be great. But, and I mean, I don't think that she's super close with Memphis. So I do think that that could be, a possibility for her fifth nominee if she gets to that point.
Anything's a possibility when Danny's HOH.
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much everybody but Nicole and probably Cody are a possibility. Y'all got any other questions? Has anyone apologized to Ian or feel bad about how they treated Ian? Well, okay, I mean, nobody has apologized to him. They're all, of course, hoping that it doesn't make it to air. And Nicole feels bad, but I don't think Nicole feels bad because she was mean about Ian. I think Nicole feels bad because she got caught.
Yeah, and she's more worried about if it's going to be put on the show or not.
Yeah, and
that's her main concern. Her main concern is not how Ian feels. Her main concern is how it's going to make her image look, which is not good.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you're concerned with, then that pretty much shows your character. So, trash, all of them. So, anyways, if y'all don't have any other questions, I think that'll do it for today. Y'all make sure you check out my Instagram and Twitter at RealiTEA_TRHS. That's RealiTEA_TRHS. Of course, we'll be posting the Veto comp winners because that will happen before we come live with y'all again tomorrow. So if you don't want to have to wait until the broadcast tomorrow, make sure you check us out on Instagram and Twitter. Where can people find you again, Lauren?
So my Twitter is Lauren_Pratt6. And then my Instagram is just Pratt6. So super easy.
All right, guys. So y'all make sure that you give the video a like, drop us a comment. Y'all are really helping us out so much, just increasing viewers. We're super appreciative of it. We're having a good time bringing y'all this content, and we want to continue to do so. So make sure you like the video, drop us a comment, subscribe to the Russell Hantz Show. You'll get notifications every time we go live, every time Russell goes live. He's got his top 10 Survivor Player show coming up. So make sure that y'all are checking that out, and we will see y'all tomorrow. Bye, guys.